Hi Maggie, could you please give us a bit of insight into your business and your core services?
So I work for Google at the moment, and I am head of global regulation and policy for news there. I actually just changed jobs, a couple of weeks ago. I was head of news, PR and comms, and I'm just getting to grips with the role. I think a lot of you probably know Google. We are a technology company. You'll know an awful lot of our products like Google Search and Google Maps and Google Play. And we've got about 140,000 people around the world that work for us. And there's about 60 offices. And interestingly, everybody talks about Google's offices. And the offices, when you used to be able to go to them, are really cool and funky. They kind of remind you of being at university. And they're very much created to match the culture of where they're based. And it's a very fun company to work for.
What is your role and responsibility within the company, and what does it involve?
So I work for a part of the company that's called Global Communications and Public Affairs. Essentially, dealing with the press, dealing with our external voice, how we appear externally, looking after our executives, being able to talk to the world about the products we build, being able to answer questions about issues, of which there seem to be many in the world right now, and really thinking about that external voice and that external face of the company. I think one of the things that we really want to do, because Google is known worldwide, is just making sure that it's, people really understand what we're doing. The mission is very, very clear, which is about organizing the world's information and making it universally useful and accessible. So we really think about how can our products be really helpful for people in those moments, whether it's going to school or picking up kids or going out for the night or trying to find out the latest news about something or trying to book a flight or trying to find out about a medical thing online or the latest on COVID. So to some degree, we'd like to fade into the background just so that you can get on with your day and find out what you need to find out.
What would you say you enjoy most about working within your role?
Well, I think this is going to be common for anybody. It's about the people that you work with. That's why you stay at a company. Obviously, initially you're attracted to a company or any organization because of the type of work that they do. And I was definitely attracted to Google for that reason in terms of its mission. I used to work at the BBC, and they're very similar missions, which is really about helping empower people to understand the world around them, to connect them to information that really matters to them so they can make really smart and informed decisions about their life. And I think you see that really playing out right now in terms of COVID, of course, but in terms of just life, about just trying to get around in the world, trying to find out what's going on, trying to access information about jobs, for example, which obviously lots of you are interested about, trying to find out about courses and that kind of thing. So the BBC is very similar in the same sort of way. It's trying to give you information that's just going to make life easier for you, that's just going to make you feel more informed, that's going to help you navigate the world in a kind of more informed way. So those are the things that attracted me to Google initially. It wasn't a massive leap in that kind of way. Very mission-driven company. And also the people. The people I work with are diverse, they're fantastic, they come from all sorts of different backgrounds. So you're constantly learning from one another. And I think that's another really key thing about working at Google, is that mindset of just constantly learning, asking questions, developing within the company. There's a very big emphasis on that. And just the people are just really smart. You constantly learn from them every day, and they're nice. Who doesn't want to work with nice people every day?
What career path did you take, and what experience and qualifications do you have that ended you up here?
So I was kind of fortunate in that I knew I always wanted to be a reporter. And I had a great career counsellor at school who helped me get some experience, little short internships at newspapers like the Glasgow Herald or the Herald, the Govan Press, Motherwell Press, and small kind of local papers to really test out, if that dream that I wanted was achievable, and that I was kind of suited to the job or not. And then obviously in times when you could move around, I moved around a lot. I worked at Radio Clyde, I worked at Murray Firth, I worked at Radio Forth in Edinburgh. I eventually went to London and I worked in the independent radio system. And I went to the BBC, and at some point I came back to Scotland. So it was a fairly meandering path. I worked at Radio Scotland, I worked at Channel 5, and eventually got the opportunity, which it was a real leap of faith to go to the US. And I kind of went there with not much of a plan, to be quite frank, and just started freelancing, because throughout my career, I had moved around, but I had built a network, and people got to know me and got to know my work and trusted me, obviously, to be able to get the job done. And so when I was out in the US, the BBC and lots of the independent stations gave me work. I would pitch ideas to them and kind of just bring them to life. And I was mostly doing online and radio at that time. And eventually I came out here, and the BBC was looking for somebody as their first Silicon Valley correspondent and offered me the job, which I jumped at. And I did that for nearly 4 years and covered all of the Valley. Everybody from Facebook to Intel to Apple to Google, and obviously got to know people at Google, and they eventually had an idea for a role and offered it to me. And I think that's the thing that you have to think about is build your network, grow the number of people that you know, just be open to opportunities and try and create opportunities. Really think about, well, what do I want to do? And sometimes it's really hard to see the next step. Just ask people and find out, look at LinkedIn, which is a great place to jump from one person to the other. And when you jump to one person, ask them to recommend who you should move on to next, and try and get people to be invested in you, even if it's just a teeny tiny wee bit. And really think about what kind of brand you want to build for yourself. What do you want to be known for? And I mean, life is all about selling. So it's really thinking about what version of yourself you want to sell to the world when you're trying to land a gig, land a job, etc.
What advice would you have for young people who may be looking at getting into your industry sector or work at Google?
Well, Google does have a whole website on this, so you should really look at that. It's, kind of guides you through the path. It really makes you ask questions about yourself and what you're looking for. What are your passions? How have you made just a difference? Even like some people that are listening to this haven't had a job yet. They've maybe had a Saturday job or a holiday job, or they've done projects at school. And think about, what are the things you did at school that excited you? What are the things you've seen other people do that excite you? And what are the projects you've worked on that can really show how you kind of organize yourself, how you get things done? What did you achieve in that kind of project? And when you go into the working world, those examples and data of how you've improved things or how you've made a difference are really, really good. There's a website, and it's careers.google.com. And I think a lot of people maybe might count themselves out of applying for Google, and you shouldn't. You should apply for anything, anywhere, wherever, because these companies only succeed when there's a diverse pool of people working for them. Because out of that diverse pool of people, you just get better products, you get better ideas. And there's a real kind of mantra at Google about ideas coming from everywhere. So ideas don't happen between 9 and 5 in the day. They happen when you're in the shower, they happen when you're out running. And the same comes when you're thinking about your career and what you want to do next. And I think, lots of companies want to bring in that diversity of experience and diversity of thought and diversity of cultures, because you just end up building better products and building better experiences for the public at large.
And what would you say the top 3 skills and personal qualities you can expect a young person who wants to work in Google to have?
I think it's interesting, because I think the outside perception of Google is it's a technology company, so you have to be amazing at computer science. You don't. I'm not. And I'm not sitting with the ones and the zeros and the bits and the bytes. And it's a diverse company. We hire people from everywhere. We hire people with all sorts of skills. And I think ultimately we're looking for people who are curious, who ask questions, who are, interested in probing things and trying to get to better answers. People who collaborate. You get the best work when you bring people together and you work together, because you can only have so many ideas, and someone might have another version of your idea, but also somebody might have said, oh, I tried that before and here's where I screwed up, or here's what I learned, here's what worked. So being able to collaborate and work in teams is something obviously as well that Google is interested. And I think, like in my field, obviously being able to communicate, being able to be that with writing, or be that, through other kinds of medium, if it's like via social media or whatever. And generally speaking, a lot of the times Google hires what are called generalists, and that's people that have a range of different skills. You don't need to be this, brain box specialist in quantum computing. You can have a bit of skill from everywhere, because you'll bring that, to the table in whatever you're doing. And so I think if you're interested in something at Google, having a look at the careers website is a really good exercise, because it forces you to really focus on what you're looking for, and working out if Google is the right fit for you as well.